So let's begin with the idea of density, right? So let me just first of all skim the content, then I will add on the details. Okay. And you had homework assigned. Hamza, आप homework Monday को देंगे?
सर पता नहीं मेरे को। आज आज भी गया हुआ था, अभी भी आया हूँ
हाँ,
पाँच
तो
चार बजे।
I basically talk with your mother, तो she said कि आप मंडे तक दे देंगे, ठीक है? तो मंडे तक ट्यूसडे तक कर लीजिएगा आप, ओके? Ryan, where's your homework? Hello, Ryan. Am I audible? I guess Ryan is connecting some earphones वगैरह. So till then, let's continue. ठीक है. Let me just choose a color. So in everyday language, let's imagine lead. So what is lead? Anyone? Where do you find the term lead?
The predictable.
Yeah, lead is basically found in pencil, right? If you just recall, if you have a pencil, this basically the central black part of the pencil is basically made up of lead, right? So which basically helps you write with a dark A or B4 pencil, right? So this is basically made up of lead. So is lead is one of the elements in periodic table. So it is saying that lead is said to be heavier than wood, right? So can you think of a reason? Okay, why is lead heavier than wood? Why is lead heavier than wood?
Sir, it's denser.
It is denser, right? So what do you mean by denser? Raise your hand and answer. Yeah.
Sir, it has more mass per unit volume.
Okay. ठीक है. Anyone else wants to participate? Okay. No one. ठीक है. ठीक है. I guess everyone agrees with Ryan. So Ryan is saying that sir, it has more per mass per unit volume. ठीक है. So yeah, Ryan saw the formula and he basically manipulated the formula कि अगर सर न्यूमरेटर ज्यादा बड़ा होगा तो overall answer भी basically would be great, right? Yes, Hamza, you want to add on? Okay. I guess Hamza is thinking right now. So what does this term means basically? So as a layman, you would think by this it meant कि कुछ certain part of volume of lead is heavier than the same volume of wood, right? Imagine कि this is let's imagine this is the block A. It is made up of lead, right? And it is the same dimension, right? Let me just keep the dimension same. So we have the same dimension of the wood, approximately same कर लेते हैं, and it is made up of wood, right? So this layman statement says कि let's imagine that this section of the wood of the lead is heavier than this section of the wood, right? So it makes the overall answer, the overall uh basically lead to be heavier than. It says that lead is heavier than wood, right? Okay. So in science, such comparison is basically used using a term called density, right? So we don't just say कि we just don't use these layman definitions. We need to be basically specific. Okay, what are we talking about? So the term which we are looking for here is one that is called density, right? We compare two elements, two components, or two blocks of same dimension with the term using density, right? So what is density? As Ayan said, ke, sir, and Hamza said, ke, and also Rupa said, ke, sir, density is mass per unit volume, right? If a question comes in your theory exam, ke, for the 1 mark, what is density? So just remember the formula. Ki, what is the formula? That is mass per unit volume. And thus convert the formula into definition. And it says ke, it is mass per unit volume, right? Is it clear now?
Yes.
ठीक है. You can give me a thumbs up. ठीक है, जल्दी. Whenever I ask, is it clear? Just give me a thumbs up. Right? Okay. So yeah, Diane gives me a thumbs up. Hamza, Rupa. Okay, good. So this is pretty quick to just ask a question and get a response, right? अच्छा जी. Let me just give you an overall estimate कि हम क्या बात करना चाहते हैं, right? If I just use my Picasso skills, let me just show off my skills. Let me insert a blank slide. Yeah, imagine कि you have a 3D cube, right? You have a 3D cube. Imagine it contains liquid, right? So liquid के अंदर particles are basically slightly away from each other. ठीक है, right? And if I talk about a gas particle, like let's say this is cube A contains liquid, right? And if I make a cube B of approximately same dimension, well, give me a second, I'm getting a call. Just give me just 2 seconds. Okay, so apologies. Okay, so now we have a cube B which now contains a gas particle, right? Let me just draw the gas particles. You know, gas particles are pretty far away from each other, right? This is cube B which contains gas particle, right? Acha, dimensions are same, right? If it is length L, so this is also L, this is also L. Similarly, it's a cube, right? So can you tell me, can you just judge these two cubes over here and tell me which density is greater? Which blocks density, cubes density will be greater and why? Think about the formula. The formula says K density equals to mass per unit volume, right? Now think about this formula and see these particular two cubes over here and raise your hand if you want to answer it. I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. Okay. Density of what? X is greater than density of Y and Y. You can guess also. It does not need to be correct.
Like, can you repeat the question?
I'm just saying कि if you just see these two cubes over here, ठीक है, liquid में you know कि we have more particles per unit volume, right? Because they are closer to each other, ठीक है. And दूसरे का क्यूब के अंदर मैंने एक गैस को फिल कर दिया, राइट? तो जो कंटेनर है उसकी वॉल्यूम सेम है, राइट? सो इसकी जो वॉल्यूम है वी है, इसकी भी वॉल्यूम वी है, राइट? नाउ सीइंग द डायग्राम, सीइंग द नंबर ऑफ पार्टिकल्स, how what can you say about density? Okay, what density, which cube density is greater than which cube density? Let's say density x is greater than density y, right? तो अगर जो आप बता रहे कि लेट से ए की ज्यादा होगी बी से, क्यों?
सर इसलिए क्योंकि लिक्विड के पार्टिकल्स गैस के पार्टिकल से रिलेटिवली ज्यादा क्लोजली पैक्ड होते हैं।
तो उससे क्या हो रहा है?
उससे कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ज्यादा होती है।
कॉन्सेंट्रेशन मतलब यू आर सेइंग वॉल्यूम ज्यादा हो जाएगी,
बट
कि वॉल्यूम ज्यादा है, मतलब कॉन्सेंट्रेशन रेफर्स टू वॉल्यूम.
पता नहीं।
वॉल्यूम तो सेम है ना, आई सेड ओवर हियर कि वॉल्यूम इज सेम. कुछ दो कंटेनर फुली फुली फिल्ड हो गए हमारे पास, वो लिक्विड से गैस. रैम ऑल्सो आंसर यस.
Sir, the mass in cube A is more, so there will be more mass because the volumes are same. So there will be more mass getting divided by the same
गुड,
volume, so that
गुड, गुड. आई होप इट मेक्स सेंस टू एवरीवन कि व्हाट इज रैम ट्राइंग टू से. सो आंसर इज बेसिकली डेंसिटी ऑफ ए इज ग्रेटर देन डेंसिटी ऑफ बी. व्हाई? बिकॉज वॉल्यूम तो दोनों की सेम है ना, कंटेनर के डायमेंशन सेम है, तो दोनों फुली फिल्ड हो गए, तो उनकी वॉल्यूम तो सेम है, राइट? सो यू कैन सी कि देयर आर मोर नंबर ऑफ पार्टिकल्स हियर, राइट? सो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग ओवर हियर? सो नंबर ऑफ पार्टिकल्स, or you can say number of particles slash amount of matter in A is greater than everything जो भी लिखा है मैंने लेफ्ट साइड पे B, right? So if you just recall the definition of mass, mass is what? The amount of matter in a body, right? Mass is basically equal to matter, matter, amount of matter in a body, right? So if you closely observe the formula, and if I just again go to the blank slide, so the formula says K density equals to mass upon volume, right? Okay. Now see this example. If I have 4 upon 5, okay, and if I basically increase the numerator, let's say मैं इसको कर दिया 5 upon 5, अब मैं इसको कर दिया 6 upon 5, ठीक है, अब इसको मैंने कर दिया 8 upon 5, ठीक है. So I'm basically doing what? I'm increasing the numerator, right? So numerator is basically increasing. So what is happening to the answer? Overall answer. This is basically 0.8 in decimal points. This is 1. This is what? 1.2. And this is 1.4, right? Make sense? 1.5, sorry. 5, 6, 30. 5, 4, 20. 1.4. You can see if I increase the numerator. So what is happening over here? If I increase the mass, so the density is also increasing, right? Why? Because if you see the formula is saying that density is directly proportional to mass, right? So if I increase the mass, the density shall also increase, right? So that is the reason कि if you just see this example over here, so liquid की density ज़्यादा क्यों होती है gas से? This is the reason. If it makes sense to all of you, kindly raise your thumbs. Give me a thumbs up, everyone, if it makes sense. Okay, makes sense to Hamza, Rayan, Ruba, and Mashal is, I guess, still lost. Okay, Mashal, you can join us on the next slide and you can watch the recording still here, right? Okay, okay. So let's continue. I guess now you have an idea about density, right? So what are we thinking about over here? We are talking about mass, we're talking about volume, right? And these two combinations give us density, right? Okay. So introduction, let's talk about some introduction over here and let's see what are we talking about, right? Okay. So can you just read this slide for 30 seconds and I'm gonna ask questions from you guys. What is written over here? And what are you talking about over here? Yes, who wants to answer? Just give me a brief summary of what is in this slide. Yes, Rayan, क्या बता रहे हैं?
Sir, they're telling us that the density of lead is 11 grams per cubic centimeter,
Mm-hmm.
which means that one if we have a piece of lead of volume 1 centimeter cube, that piece of lead will have mass 11 grams. And if we have a piece of lead of volume, for example, 6 centimeter cube,
Mm-hmm.
it would be 66 grams.
Okay, okay, ठीक है.
So this shows us if the density of a substance is known, the mass of any volume of it can be calculated.
Okay, okay, good overall, ठीक है, सही है. So let's they are talking about an example over here, right? So there's just give you an example कि how does the density basically is unaffected by the dimension, right? So let's see over here कि हो क्या रहा है, right? So they are saying the density of lead is basically 11 gram per centimeter cube, right? That is basically this. And this means that a piece of lead, if it occupies a volume of 1 centimeter cube, they are saying the density is equals to basically what? 11 gram per centimeter cube, right? Okay. So अब मुझे बताएं कि अगर हमारे पास इतनी डेंसिटी दी हुई, if I have a volume of 2 centimeter cube, let's say, so what would be the mass then? Give me a rough answer, a close estimate.
22.
Okay, anyone else?
22.
Yeah, sir, 22.
Okay, guys. Acha ji. So yeah, 72 कह रहा है Hamza. Is it correct? Guys, you agree with Hamza? Hamza is saying 72. Okay. Even
No, sir, it should be 22 grams.
22
I
gram.
think.
Yeah.
Percent it should be 22 grams. That's
Yeah,
it.
Rupa is correct, right? Rupa is correct. This was just a introduction कि जो हमारे नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में फॉर्मूले के बारे में बात करेंगे हम लोग, तो उसमें क्या आने वाला है, राइट? So I just wanted to test you guys. So yeah, Rupa has won the race over here. So you're given the density over here, the density of lead, right? The density of lead is 11 gram per centimeter cube, right? Up, let's say if I give you a question and you know the formula, right? You know this formula, K density equals to mass upon volume. Okay. And you are given the density, and if I give you the volume, you can find the mass easily, right? So Ruba ने just formula के अंदर इसको put in किया and she got the answer to 22, right? So that's what they are saying over here कि the 1 centimeter cube has a mass of 11 gram. So if the volume becomes 5 centimeter cube, it's going to be 55 grams, right? It makes sense, right? Let's imagine this is a lead cube. This is a volume of 1 centimeter cube, right? So it has a mass of 11 grams, right? If I make the volume to be 5 centimeter cube, so now it has again more number of matters, more amount of particles inside this. Therefore, the mass is going to increase and it's going to be basically what? 55 grams. Okay, that is what they're trying to relate. So they're trying to relate these quantities. So how do they relate, right? So if the density of a substance is known, the mass of any volume can be basically calculated using this formula. We know that. Okay, so that is why engineers and all the scientists need a formula to work out everything, right? Imagine you're making a building, right? Let's say Rupa is making a building, right? Building बना रही है पूरी नहीं. And let's say it is a 11-story building, right? Let's say she wants to make a 11-story building, right? And 11 story means it has going to have how many roofs? 12 roofs, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So, this is the base over here. So, imagine what material is she going to use? Density. Or basically, she's going to refer to density, right? So, Rupa, let's imagine you're given copper, right? You're given copper options. You're given options copper, silver, and let's say aluminum, right? So this is the material available for the rods, for the material which can be used to create the structure, right? Copper has a density, let's say it has a density of, let's say, 3,300 kilogram per meter cube. Let's say this is the density. And let's say silver has a density of 1100. It's a rough estimated values, okay? Not exact. I'm giving example over here. Let's say aluminum has a density of 800 kilogram per meter cube. So which material is most suitable for a strong structure of the building? Ruba? Ruba. Yeah.
I think copper.
Yeah, because you want the building to be strong, right? So
Yes.
this is an example over here. Okay, they are not exact values. So yeah. So obviously for you can see density, right? Density जितनी ज़्यादा होगी, it means that the structure is more rigid. It has more number of particles inside that. Imagine this is the rod which you're going to use, right, for the structure. So it is going to be pretty rigid, right? The atoms inside this particular rod is going to have a lot of matter in it, okay, and it is going to be providing a strong structure for the entire building to stand on it. Okay, so similarly, there is just saying that if you want to design any bridge, any building, any structure which needs metal, so they're going to basically analyze the density, right? And using the density, they design everything, right? So whenever you go out, you see copper wires, right? You see wires around you for carrying out electricity. ठीक है, so whenever you want to design any wire also, so उसकी भी आप density देती हैं and different other parameters, right? So this is a pretty important factor in basically designing any structure or anything which requires material to be used that are basically in your periodic table, right? Which requires strength and tensile strength, so on and so forth, right? The strong enough foundations can be made. The SI unit of density is kilogram per cubic meter, right? We're gonna derive them in a while कि कैसे आता है, ठीक है?